Town. Good afternoon and welcome to the Podium. Our quote for today comes from George Bernard Shaw, an Irish playwright and political activist. It says, "A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more than a life spent doing nothing." Well, coming up in this edition of the Podium, Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice bans those indicted by the Commissions of Inquiry White Paper from traveling. Sierra Leone Extractive Industries Conspiracy Initiative sensitizes the public on its 2017-2018 reports, which focuses on the mining and the oil and gas sector. Anti-Corruption Commission acknowledges the Afrobarometer Report 2020, which confirms a reduction in corruption prevalence in Sierra Leone from 70% in 2015 to a lowest ever percent of 40% in 2020. Well, you can be part of the conversation by sending your messages to 08837504, or if you're watching us live on Facebook, you can leave your comments there for us on our Facebook page, SMBC TV, Channel 31. The Podium is live on SMBC Television. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamara. Welcome to the Podium. First on the podium this afternoon, the Sierra Leone Extractive Industries Conspiracy Initiative Office has organized a one-day sensitization and dissemination of the Sierra Leone Extractive Industries Conspiracy Initiative 2017 to 2018 reports at the Western Area Rural District Council Hall, Waterloo. The SLATE 2017-2018 report reconciled payments made by the extractive companies and revenues received by the government of Sierra Leone in 2017 and 2018. The report covers the mining and the oil and gas sectors in Sierra Leone, as well as registers of licenses, exploration, production and exports, beneficial ownership, contract conspiracy, state participation in the extractive sector, revenue collection and allocation, and social and economic spending. Well, for more on this, we have been joined in the studios by the Program Manager, Sierra Leone Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, Mohamed Bemba Koroma. Good afternoon, welcome to the board.
Good afternoon, thanks for having me.
This 2017-2018 report looked at a whole lot of issues with regards to the mining and oil and gas sector. What did it clearly bring out?
Well, thank you very much for having me. It actually brought out the general laws governing the mining sector in Sierra Leone, and it brought out the production from the mining sector in 2017-18. It brought out the export of minerals for 2017-18 and the revenues received from the extractive sector in 2017-18. So those are the key areas that were captured in the report.
Okay. So now concerning especially licenses, we see when the it's in 2019 when the new minister took over, some of them were withdrawn. So let's talk about what does the report says about giving licenses to mining companies.
Well, the report the report captures the procedures that are used to obtain the mining license, and then obviously it goes through to the technical committee. There's a minerals advisory board which reviews your application in terms of your financial and technical capability, and they assess all of those and make sure that you meet the requirements. And when you meet the requirements, they make a recommendation to the Minister of Mineral Resources, Mines and Mineral Resources, and then they will grant you your license to mine. So that's normally what happens in the process.
Okay. So now let's talk about beneficial ownership. What does that mean? Is it the community where the mining takes place or the owners of the mining companies?
Okay. When we talk about beneficial ownership in the EITI terms,
Okay.
we're talking about true owners of mining companies. So basically, for example, you say Serra Rutai. Who are the true owners of Serra Rutai? Do you know who owns Serra Rutai? So for EITI, that's what we mean by beneficial ownership. So I'll come to your question. I think you're talking about community ownership, community development. But in terms of the EITI, since we are on beneficial ownership, the president made a commitment at the Dakar Beneficial Ownership Conference that he was going to ensure that the beneficial ownership is complied with in Sierra Leone. So that he followed up on that commitment, and now there's a bill wherein beneficial ownership is going to be mandatory for mining companies to publish their true owners of the company. So once that goes through, it becomes a law. Currently, it's not a law, so mining companies are not compelled to disclose who the true owners are. But once that becomes a law, they will be compelled to publish that, and we'll also capture that in our report to publish the true owners. But if I come back to your point in terms of the community development, and so this is a payment that mining companies make to the communities in terms of community development. Currently, there is a law that says you pay 1% of your gross annual revenue. So once you're a mining company, you're established for at least a year, you have to join the community development agreement, which then mandates you to pay 1% of your gross revenue into the community development fund. So that money is used to develop the local communities, and that money is used by the community members.
Who handles it? The community.
The community. Okay. It's made up of, in fact, the signatory to the account is made up of communities and the mining companies. So it's not just one party.
Okay.
So the community decide what developmental projects they want to undertake in their community, and then they drive that through, and that's how the community development comes through. Currently, it's 1% of 1%. But in this bill I was just talking about, if it goes through, becomes a law, it's going to change to 2.5%. So the government is trying to ensure that the community.
So is it the
benefits.
same as their corporate social responsibility?
No, it's not the same, because the corporate social responsibility is a voluntary moral obligation.
Okay,
it's not mandatory. It's not. It's up to the mining companies to do, for example, build roads, build schools, hospitals. But currently, what we do in the report, we capture the mandatory social expenditure, which is what I was just talking about, the community development fund, and some of it, and then obviously there's another one called the Diamond Area Community Development Fund, which is also a mandatory community development, which is also 3% that the government levy on all exports, diamond exports, and then 25% of that 3% is what goes into the community development, the Diamond Area Community Development Fund. All that is to help build the community, is to help develop the community. So in terms of the social corporate responsibility, that's a voluntary moral obligation. So that's the difference.
Okay, so with regards the community development fund, what does the report say about the compliance of mining companies?
So currently, we all the mining companies that were captured are in compliance. They all paid, and in our presentation we made a show of how much they've paid over the years. This mining company. So currently,
so how is it utilized? Is it being used for the purpose?
Well, I would say yes, and then but when you go down to the community, they will say, well, it's being used for the purpose, but we're not seeing that purpose. It's not reflecting on us. How do we know? But what I say, the community members are part of this community. They sit down, they agree on what should happen. So sometimes what happens, the members do not go back to the community executive, do not go back to their members and update them on things that should happen. So as a result of that, there is that gap in communication, and as a result of that, there is this mistrust, which obviously leads to a lot of misunderstanding in what happens with the community development fund.
Okay, so now one would say that there are not much of mining activities in the Western area. Why did you choose the Western area to do the sensitization on the reports that have to do with mining communities, extractives and all?
Well, the Western area is actually where we ended. Or being run to Lonsa, Maburuka, Kono, Tongo, Rutai, Bo. So being run to all the communities that are really affected by mining. Because the reason being, they are the ones that are right at the forefront. They feel the impact of the mining. So we had to take the report to them so that they know exactly what's happening in their communities and what's happening in the mining sector. And most of them were really happy that went down to them, and they're begging Sletty to continue going down to educate them.
So how well did they understand the reports, especially the contents?
It was well understood. It was an interactive presentation. We did the presentation, and we had over an hour of interactive session wherein they were asking questions, and we were giving back. We had mining companies represented, the Chamber of Mines, which is a group of mining companies. They were represented in all of our presentations. They were there to answer questions, and then obviously we also have a summary copy of the report, which gives key findings of the 2017-18 happenings in the mining sector.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Continue to stay with us in the program. He is Mohammed Bemba Koroma, the program manager, Sierra Leone Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. Another issue this afternoon: the Office of the Attorney General has banned those indicted by the Commissions of Inquiry white paper recently published by the government from traveling out of the country by land, air, and sea, unless they are cleared by the AG's office. The ban follows a recent reaction from the main opposition, All People's Congress Party, challenging the fairness of the process. Well, for more on the ban, I have in the studios Mohammed Elba, who is a member of the Strategic Communications Unit in the Ministry of Information and Communications. Mohammed, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Do we know the reasons for this?
Of course, it is presumed that we are all now aware of the fact that the government set up commissions of inquiry to investigate, persons of interest emanating from the government transition team report. And of course, the report was submitted to the President last week, Thursday. And of course, the President did say that, government is willing to ensure that, they actually follow all the recommendations in the report. And of course, among which certain individuals were actually implicated in the report. And of course, some were asked to refund certain amounts, and of course, also some properties being confiscated. In line with that, it behooves the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to ensure that those individuals are within, and for those that are within, the jurisdiction of Sierra Leone, for them to ensure that no one escapes. And of course, for those that are out of Sierra Leone, other avenues could definitely be explored to ensure that they are repatriated back to Sierra Leone for them to come and, challenge the findings of the report, or actually pay back, what they have been asked to pay back to the people of this county. So it is the responsibility of the AG's office to ensure that when once, among those persons of interest, when once any one of them want to travel out of the county, it behooves the Immigration Office and of course also the Inspector General of Police to seek clarification from them before allowing them out of the country if the need arises. So on the whole is to just ensure that no one escapes. And of course, all of those that have been highlighted in the report are actually also eligible to appeal through the course of appeal, because subsection 4 of section 419 is clear on that. In total, 112 persons were actually implicated in the report. So, in a nutshell, that is that. It is not an intention to disenfranchise anybody or trample upon the right, but when once you are subject to investigation, it behooves the states to ensure that you are within county, and of course,
but it's not the first time. Before the commissions of inquiry, immediately after the SNPP took over, that happened too. Yeah, have they been out?
No, those persons by then it was because at the time there was no commissions of inquiry, there was no legal basis upon which those people could be investigated. That was why an in-scheme traveling ban was imposed on them. But that now is null and void.
Okay.
So this one supersedes that previous notice that came out from the AG's office.
So let's talk about what will happen to those who are out of the country, who have been out ever since.
Well, it is very difficult to say the strategies that are going to be used to ensure that we repatriate them back to Sierra Leone. But all I want you to know is that government is actually working behind the scene to ensure that we work with international partners in ensuring that those persons of interest that are out of the country, no matter where they are around the world, are repatriated back to Sierra Leone and come and face account and be held accountable for their stewardship.
From the list, we saw even institutions were included. What does that mean? How involved are they?
Well, that did not come from the AG's office because there was a final one that came out from the deputy Minister of Justice and Attorney General Umaru Napoleon Kuruma, which actually contains only names of individuals that are actually investigated.
But even those who are cleared by the commissions, their names are there too. So what's happening?
Well, that has not been to my notice because those who are actually of persons of interest.
Because let me take for example Dr. Owisko Omar. His name is there, and at the commissions of inquiry it was said that because he bought some houses, I think the OE villas or something like that, government houses, and because he's working for the government, it should be overlooked, and the private person should be prosecuted. So why encompass all of them?
Well, probably you don't know. It is as a result of the fact that he might be subject to investigations more, or probably he is still needed around in the event of executing the recommendations of the commissions of inquiry. So all those that are actually the names that have their names enlisted on that particular list, they are actually subject to either going after them for them to pay the monies, or forfeiting their properties, or also have the right to appeal to in the appeals court. So that is the reason why there has been a traveling ban imposed on them, for them not to leave the country until after a determination.
So how will they know? Will they be monitored? Because we know that sometimes people may not have just one passport.
Well, that is the reason why their names have been published, and of course it was deliberate that they wrote to the immigration officer because they are granting passports, and of course also the Inspector General of Police. So those are the two institutions that are actually responsible for issuing out traveling documents, and of course also providing security. So it is expected that those institutions will be very much vigilant in ensuring that those named individuals are actually not granted any permission to leave the country until further notice, or until they are cleared by the Office of the Attorney General.
Now, in terms of confiscating properties owned by some of these people listed, we know that some of those listed, about 3 or 4 of them are dead. So what would happen? Because we know sometimes it's normal for someone, even when alive, to make a will, bequeath your properties to people. Will they be taken from them after?
Well, I think that is a whole judicial process that is going to unravel over the coming weeks or so, especially in situations like that. But what was the responsibility of the commission was to investigate, because during the time the deceased person you are talking about was alive, and of course they came out with their recommendations and findings. So that was exactly what was contained in that report. So in implementing the recommendations of those of the report, it's just a matter of wait and see. But to a very large extent, yes, indeed, in criminal proceedings, when once you are dead, you bear no criminal responsibility anymore. But if at all government thinks that, or the courts may make a determination that whichever property that you left behind, we should go after it.
But if there's a change of name on those properties?
Well, those, that's why I said I don't actually want us to go deep into the report, because most often, during the course of the investigations, these houses were actually, investigated, conveyances were brought forward, and of course, names were attached to those conveyances, and it was, they came to the conclusion, and these individuals were the owners, of those properties, and what they earned during the course of their service. To this country far outweighs, the evaluation of those houses.
So talking about the evaluation, critics are saying that most of the properties were overvalued.
Well, that is their own perception. In Sierra Leone, it is very easy to sit and actually, express or give out your opinion. But all what I would say here is that, the commissions of inquiry did not only sit, at Jimmy Kenyatta Road and make determinations, especially with regards to evaluating those properties. For example, like the Youth Infant Project, when once that was being investigated, they travel from here to Mashaka. Of course, I'm also aware, I did a story on that, of course, when they were investigating the washing guy's house, for example, they went there and they did physical evaluation. So to say that, some people just go to these houses and, of course, on top
physical
of physical
evaluation, yes, we saw that on the news. But were the people contacted to know how much did you buy this? Take stock, take.
No, evaluation does not work like that. Understand? Because it is possible that you might not give the correct figure. So you bring in a competent and a qualified surveyor or an evaluator. So that's exactly what operates.
But that surveyor is being frowned upon now.
No. But that if they have any contention, there's also room for legal redress. They will have to appeal that in the Court of Appeals. So that is that. Understand? So for as long as government is concerned, is that we are actually very, very, very committed to ensure that we implement all the recommendations in the white paper, and of course, whosoever that is, being implicated in that report and feels so strongly about the content of those reports has the legal right to actually appeal the decisions in the Court of Appeal. And mind you, they only have 90 days to, do that, because within 90 days, they should have actually complied with the dictate of the white paper.
So the ban takes effect when? Now?
Yes, effectively.
Okay.
Immediately, effectively.
Thank you so much. Well, he is Mohammed Elba from the Strategic Communications Unit in the Ministry of Information and Communications. Another issue this afternoon, the Anti-Corruption Commission in a press release issued yesterday acknowledged the Afrobarometer Report 2020, which confirms a reduction in corruption prevalence in Sierra Leone from 70% to 2015. In 2015 to the lowest ever per centum of 40 in 2020. The 2020 Afrobarometer Round 8 survey report presented to the government of Sierra Leone in Freetown on the 28th of September 2020 by the Institute of Governance Reform (IGR) establishes that the corruption prevalence in the country has continued to experience a decline from as high as 70% in 2015 to a new lowest ever of 40%. The public can recall that a decline to 43% was recorded in 2018. This, the ACC states, as a clear confirmation of the impact of the work of the Commission and other stakeholders in combating and controlling corruption in Sierra Leone. The ACC also says it will continue to study the report and others to help shape the work they do, with a view to making corruption a very risky and expensive venture. The Commission continues to assure the general public also of its relentless resolve to fight all levels of corruption and to effectively control it in Sierra Leone. Well, in the studios, I have Maurice I. Kante, who is the Assistant Public Relations Officer in the Anti-Corruption Commission. Good afternoon, Maurice. Welcome to the show.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
I presume you are very happy with the report because it's positive.
Yes, I think this is a remarkable progress for us as a nation because as you see the numbers, an overwhelming majority of Sierra Leoneans have expressed confidence and approved of the work of the Anti-Corruption Commission and by extension the entire country in the fight against corruption. You see, the fight against corruption is a perceptional fight, and the people that are most important in terms of the perception of any nation with regards to the fight against corruption are the citizens themselves, because they feel the effects of corruption, and if we succeed in eradicating corruption, they are going to get the benefits of the development that comes with that. So for us at the ACC, we are very much humbled and also very much proud of this particular endorsement from the people of Sierra Leone with regards to this barometer report published by the Institute of Governance Reform. And it shows that all the factors responsible, 3 major factors responsible for the fight against corruption, which are the political will, the institution itself responsible, and the people are all making the right step, are all taking the right steps in the right direction. So this is a welcome news. But as the commissioner will always say, even though we are winning, we will continue to fight as if we are losing, because we don't want to be complacent. corruption in Sierra Leone is endemic. We have a lot of work to do, but this is indeed an encouragement to us. And this is consistent with other international and national indices like the Millennium Corporation Challenge Scorecard, the Corruption Perception Index published by Transparency International. All of them are consistently stating that Sierra Leone is indeed making progress. And so this is very good news for us, and it means that we are slowly becoming a model nation for the fight against corruption in Africa.
Now, even though the report from IGR is positive, did you cross-check with the yardstick they used in getting this perception?
Yes, well, you and I know IGR is a very credible institution.
Well, people are contesting what they're saying, especially when we talk about parliament. We had in here the other day, they were contesting because it was negative.
Yes, well, the good thing is this is just one of many indices or reports which is shedding a positive light on the work of the Anti-Corruption Commission and Sierra Leone to be specific. And also, you see, the fight against corruption is based on facts. They say numbers don't lie. When you see the numbers, they are all in favor of the ACC. You look at conviction rates, we have had the highest conviction, over 90% since the current commissioner took over. If you look at recovery, we have recovered over 20 billion leos, which is landmark in the history of this country. You look at systems and processes, a lot of progress is being made, even with regards to the government's efforts again in the fight against corruption. You see the government is taking monumental strides, like for example, the publishing of the white paper. These are actions that are very uncommon. We don't normally see them in this country. So it shows that indeed these times are different from what used to be in the fight against corruption. And indeed the facts are there, the practicalities are there for all of us to see.
Okay, and also Kante, I can see you're pleased, you're happy. But one would think that where are these figures coming from? Where are all these victories coming from? When we know in this same report we had two big institutions indicted as being the most corrupt in the country, Parliament and the police. So let's talk about where do you look for in terms of tackling corruption?
Yes, there is a difference between an institution being the most corrupt and also progress being made in the fight against corruption.
Yeah.
An institution can be the most corrupt, that is based on comparative analysis. But that does not necessarily mean progress is not being made in the fight against corruption. So overall progress is being made. Even though the police, a lot of progress is made, because the previous report, 69% of citizens stated the police to be the most corrupt. Now it has reduced to 61%, which means they are also taking steps in order to launder their image. But the reality is there are still challenges. I think what informs the perception of the people about the police is the traffic wardens, the interaction people have with the traffic wardens, be it in private vehicles or in commercial vehicles when they are traveling up country. People see these police officers, traffic wardens, extorting money from drivers. So overall, it forms the perception. But that is also improving. We have been working towards that, conducted several raids. We have engaged several divisions and conducted public education ventures just to make sure we try to see how we will effect some positive change in the police force. But in the whole, I think we are making progress. Even in Parliament today, they called the press conference again with reaction to this particular report. So it means institutions are firstly taking cognizance of the facts in the reports, and they are also taking conscious steps to see how they can address some of the anomalies that are raised.
So now, with this new dispensation, let's talk about the approach you use in gaining so much success.
Yes, firstly, I think the entire national anti-corruption strategy is working, because Maki, we have the national strategy which dictates how the entire country fights corruption, not only ACC. So this means this strategy is working. This morning I was on the Good Morning program and I informed the country that, for example, NRA, which is an institution that features very prominently on this report to have made progress in the fight against corruption, now have an anti-corruption unit within their institution, which means institutions are also now joining the ACC and taking the lead. So this is also a very welcoming news with regards to the role of several institutions in the fight against corruption. So the nation is winning and we will continue to win. And we call on all those who have a role to play. And I believe every Sierra Leonean has a role to play one way or the other. The thing that is of that is of concern to us at the ACC is the fact that compared to the last reports, many Sierra Leoneans are now stating that they fear to come and report corruption because of fear of retaliation. That is very worrying because, as you know, we rely on the people to blow whistle on corrupt practices. And even though we have taken conscious steps, like after the amendment of the ACC Act, we have now created sections that protect witnesses who will come forward to the ACC to report. But to see Sierra Leoneans still express fear of retaliation is something very worrying, and it is something we are going to look carefully and see how we can deploy strategies to continue to encourage Sierra Leoneans to come forward. Because the entire ACC, we have less than 300 staff, and we are dealing with a population of over 7 million. So we rely on these people who see these corrupt practices take place in their communities, in offices, to come and report. So we want to let them know that there is now a witness protection clause. If you are working for an institution and you come and report corruption and you have your boss want to intimidate you, we now have a provision in the Act which calls for instant criminal proceeding against that particular boss. So these are strategies we are deploying to make sure people feel comfortable to come forward and report corrupt practices to the ACC.
So let's talk about some of your downtime, with the recent cases, especially with the Alpha Timbo and others, that I would not say you lost, that was thrown out because of lack of evidence. And you said you did not give the evidence deliberately because you were not finished with what you were doing. So let's do you count that as one of your downtime?
Yes, well,
with all the efforts you made, and a top government official as high as the former Attorney General not giving you the go-ahead to do the case as usual, but with a different term.
Yes, there are still challenges in the fight against corruption. That is the reality. And some of these challenges have been structural. They have been there for decades. And it is going to take time for us to be able to navigate them. And as we stated, the Alpha Timbo case is still a work in progress. We are reviewing that particular situation now that we have a new Attorney General. And recent actions from the Office of the Attorney General, gives us reason to hope that indeed a positive consideration will be given to that particular matter if we decide to send it to court again. But as the Commissioner will always say, there are several alternative approaches. We can decide to, for example, engage in a non-conviction asset-based recovery. That is going to settlement agreement with them to make sure we recover all what was lost in terms of monetary value. Or there are several other instances. So we are still reviewing. We'll inform the public on what our next line of action is. But as you all know, it was the interference of the former Attorney General that caused all of this confusion in this particular matter, and we are afraid not to set a precedent that will haunt the ACC and even the nation in the fight against corruption, because for the first time we saw the Attorney General wanted to conduct a trial by jury, which is a novelty. It has never happened anywhere in Africa in the fight against corruption, so we wanted to prevent that. And we hope, as I stated, there is enough reason for us to be hopeful that indeed the current Attorney General will support the ACC and the people of this country in a positive direction. Okay,
so finally, before we take a break and deal with other issues, let's talk about your prep. Are you prepping up for especially this white paper thing? What's going to be your role in all of it?
Well, the mandate of the ACC is very clear, which is to fight all levels of corruption. And the white paper, this is a source of information for the ACC, and we are going to treat it with all amounts of seriousness. You see, there comes a time in the history of any nation where decisive actions have to be taken. And I believe that this particular moment in the history of Sierra Leone is very defining. And so we have to come together as a nation to determine what kind of future we want. Do we want to continue to live in a society wherein corruption continues to thrive, wherein those who we place in terms of who are responsible for monitoring our spending our resources continue to misappropriate them, or do we want to draw a line? And I think the people are determined to follow the latter approach. So at the ACC, we are more than ready ever before. We are fired up to make sure we work.
So will there be fresh indictment or?
Yes, well,
what will you do?
If there are individuals who, if we have not opened the case against you, then we are going to start the process all over again. Some we are going to investigate. Some we are going to do direct indictment. Some we are going to do direct indictment. We are just going to execute because there is no need again to go and investigate where we are overwhelming evidence. But all the matters, I can assure the people of this country that every matter that has been directed to the ACC will not be left unattended to.
All right. Thank you very much. And he is Maurice Ibrahim Kante, the Deputy PRO, Anti-Corruption Commission. The program is a podium coming to you live on SABC Television. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamal. We go for a short break. When we come back, the program continues. The program is the podium coming to you live on SABC Television in Freetown. Send your messages to 0883733504. If you're watching us live on Facebook, you can leave your comments there for us on our Facebook page, SABC TV, channel 31. Well, in the studios also, the next issue is the Albert Academy. It is celebrating 116 years of existence. The school is among the best schools, was among the best schools in the country that have produced prominent people, including prime ministers, presidents, governors, judges, doctors, and many who are contributing to all spheres of the world. The alumni is now set to embark on various activities marking the anniversary. Justice Abu King is the president of the Albert Academy Old People's Association. Good afternoon, Justice. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, my lady.
I saw you shaking your head. I don't know if you were in disagreement of me saying the school was.
Quite correct.
Was.
Yes. That's why we have the theme for this year of repositioning our school,
Okay.
where she was in yesterday's.
Okay.
So
So
you're quite
let's talk
correct.
about what went wrong along the line. Because in those days, people were yearning to be part of that school, but now parents would frown at taking their children there. What went wrong?
Kamala, thank you very much. I think this has been a perennial program for years, because even when I was in the US years back, an old boy of the Prince of Wales went and did some teaching practice at the Albert Academy, and he went back to the US and he told me, he said, King, it's Academy Don Pueblo. I said, what do you mean? I said, but that place is not a good place. So when I came in 2008, I went to the school. I had to be focused. I said, this is the school I attended. This is not the legacy that we left here. So I decided that I'm going to transform Albert Academy. I worked with the previous executives, for 4 years I was vice president. And then 2016, I was elected president. And then I had my focus that I'm going to transform and reform the Albert Academy. Because a lot of problems, infrastructures were not perfect, indiscipline was the order of the day, racketeering was rampant, you name them. You have the clique boys there. So what I did was I set up strategies, because with my management experience of management by objective, I set my objective that there are too many problems, the challenges were many. So I'm going to take them piecemeal. The first thing I started with was the environment. You went to Albert Academy years back. It was like, a dog orphanage. You go there, you see about so many dogs. And when they multiply, it's just there. And to me, that was an eyesore. So I set up a committee, and then we had a campaign. Dog committee, that was a bit derogatory. So we named it Animal Committee.
Okay.
And I can tell you, in one day, 22 dogs were killed, and they were buried in one mass grave. In one of our foundation meetings, the late Bishop Yambasu, in fact, was teasing me, said that, Donald Trump is going to issue an indictment to the president for human destruction, and people laughed at it. So I started with the environment, and I can tell you that if you go to Albert Academy now, you cannot talk anything bad about the environment. The environment, you go there, it's like Kew Garden, because I've traveled a lot. When you go to London, you see Kew Garden. You visit the high schools there, you see the environment. These are things I decided to replicate to my alma mater.
Okay, so
I don't just travel.
Let's come to the quality of education.
Quality of education, again, a lot of things were responsible for the poor quality. The politicians were responsible.
Why do you say that?
Because of their connections, they just dump all sorts of pupils to the Albert Academy. And I was of the perception that, in the manufacturing process, if you put in inferior raw materials, what you get in the end is inferior finished product. So what my executive did was to set up an admission committee. For the past 4 years, made up of reputable people. This year I said it by Dr. Nala Usman, we have Dr. Babafemi Aaron Johnson, and others. They sit with the school administration.
Okay.
I can tell you, for school admission, it was big business at the Albert Academy. You have shareholders, I will tell you. The teachers have their own share, how many people they should bring in.
Okay.
The school administrators have. The old boys have. So I put my foot down and I said, no way. This committee is going to sit with the school administration. If the cutoff line is like this year now it's 291, if you don't have 291, you go find another school. And also the class sizes have been, it has been effective. We reduced the class sizes to 50.
Okay.
I can tell you for free that 3 years back, some classes were 110. How can a teacher teach effectively? You're getting there.
So what about the results? Are they better now?
Well, by next year, I tell you, because we started putting these new raw materials,
Okay.
right? So in 3-4 years, we got to see them in Becker.
The Tuansi too has stopped.
You what?
The Tuansi.
Tuansi, that has been minimized.
See, most of the time, teachers will be in classroom. They will be out smoking. In
That's something of the
all
past.
okay.
What we did with the help of the diaspora branches, without the perimeter fence. If you pass the Albert Academy,
Okay.
we've raised it and we've got barbed wires,
So
and
there's
everything.
no ghettos.
No.
All right. So now, briefly, let's talk about what is in line for the celebrations.
Well, this year we decided to have a low-key celebration because of obvious reasons. The pandemic is there, and also we lost our bishop,
Okay.
Bishop Yambasu, who has been very, very vibrant and effective in leading the Albert Academy. And it's going to be low-key, but don't want the day to go unnoticed.
Okay.
That's why we say we're going to have a flag raising, and then we're going to have a devotion this time, no Thanksgiving.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Justice Abuking. Continue to stay with us. He is the president of the Albert Academy Old People's Association. The final issue this afternoon: Focus 1000 has trained community champions to help promote malaria prevention and control messages. The community champions, who are religious leaders, are expected to educate their followers on malaria prevention and control messages. In the studios, it's Kemo Cham, who is the PRO Kumgan Network, National PRO Kumgan Network, Focus 1000. Good afternoon, welcome to the podium.
Good afternoon, thank you.
People would say more attention has been placed on corona and what is recent now, the pandemic. Let's talk about why you chose malaria. We know it's here. It's endemic now.
Yeah, so like you just said yourself, it's malaria is endemic. It has been here, and it's still with us.
Okay.
So we are not going to sit back. It's just like every other aspect of life. I mean, even as we are fighting corona, we're also trying to move on. So malaria is still one of the top priorities, public health concerns for the country. You know, so Focus 1000 been working on malaria and many other issues. So this approach, just like every other approach, I mean, there is some kind of infusion of the element of COVID. I mean, whatever you do now, you take account of COVID. You take that approach. So we, Comrade Network, like you mentioned there, it's like a community engagement arm for Focus 1000. You have about 6 pillars, 5 pillars, religious leaders who comes in 2, I mean Muslims and Christians. You have the media, traditional healers, market women, and the mainstream civil society. So, but this particular one targets, I mean, involves the religious leaders.
Okay.
I mean, religious leaders are used like as agents of change, I mean, to pass through communication. I mean, this is, Focus is using an experience that it has used even with COVID. I mean, it has used with Ebola, wherein religious leaders are used to appeal to the masses. Sierra Leone is more or less 100% religious place. I mean, you're either a Muslim or you're a Christian. And it's easy, they've realized, for people to listen to religious people than they do to any other group of people. So they use that approach with Ebola, and we saw how we were able to conquer Ebola within a very short period of time. And the same approach was used with, is being used with COVID. So now we are taking that approach towards malaria.
Okay, so let's talk about the message, the contents of it.
Yeah, so these religious leaders, imams and pastors, have used scientific messages crafted by health experts, used scriptures, I mean verses in both the Bible and the Quran, to send this message to the people. One, it becomes easier to understand, but also for people who don't believe in science, or who believe in religion, who only knows what the Bible says and what the Quran says, they get this message. They know that this is important. So these messages have been translated using verses in both scriptures, which are going to be passed. So what is going on today, as we are talking, the training is ongoing. They are training them how to pass on this information using their pulpit.
Okay, so what do you hope to achieve by using this particular set of people?
Yeah, so like I said, the whole thing about fighting an emergency or fighting any problem, trying to eliminate any problem that you have, is to make sure that the information, the message, the right message is passed. It's only when people understand what you are telling them that they're able to act accordingly. So religious leaders are targeted because of the significant role they play. I mean, the position they occupy in society, the esteem to which people owe them, such that they will listen to them. So I'm saying in this country, you're either a Muslim or you're a Christian. You either go to mosque or you go to the church. So the best place we think to capture people is in these 2 places. So that's why they are targeted.
So have you experienced to see how the people are receiving this message?
Yeah, we can go by previous experience. I mean, I made mention of the Ebola. I made mention of...
No, for this particular venture.
Yeah, so this is starting now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's starting now. So it will have to take time before we get there to know how much it will impact.
Okay, so continue to stay with us in the program. Is Kemocham, who is the National PRO, Comrade Network Focus 1000. Well, still with me in the studio is Justice Abu King, who is the president of the Albert Academy of People's Association. And now, as we were talking about the quality of education, we know how many years since you took over to rebrand this school?
How many what?
How many years now? 4?
4?
No, when you took over to rebrand, to...
Well, 4 years.
Okay,
4 years.
So let's talk about how have the results been, especially in public exams.
Well, I think there have been improvements in the first place. In fact, promotional exams,
Okay.
we used to have problems. Parents would go and bribe teachers.
Because some pupils will not be in the classroom for the whole year and then they'll pass.
Oh yes,
As-
this is what
as
was
long as they
happening.
give
I
money.
can tell you for free. These are all areas I had to set up committees to sit with the examination board when promotion exams are being held. It was a serious, it was a real syndicate. They pay for marks, okay, and teachers take money from parents. Oh, they assure them, I give you a space at Albert Academy. Like now, we say 290. With 245, a teacher, because they have their own quota, will brave his way. And the girl will attend or the boy will attend. But that is something with the past, as
So
I
it's
tell
not
you.
happening anymore.
It's not happening
So how
because
do
of the
you monitor
committee,
that? Okay.
a 5-man committee, people with integrity. They sit with you. They sit with the examination and the admission committee.
So are you also aware that they have another technique that these people you will not take them during that that board, that decision making
Yeah.
body. They'll not be there, but they'll be in the classroom.
They will not be in the classroom, but
Are you sure
again,
about that?
I have a monitoring
That they
committee.
do not make their way.
They just go to the classroom on notice, unannounced, and check with it's 50 per classroom. You see 51, the principal will have to explain. And one good thing we did again was that, when you change the head, you change the entire body.
Okay, so okay.
But it put pressure on the board of governors, and the head of the institution, the principal, was given the exit. And that has been great improvement.
So what was
Now
it
we
the
have
problem?
a temporary principal.
Was it the problem?
It's one of the problems.
Okay.
It's one of the problems. The problems were many. There were very many stakeholders in this whole illegal exercise. So I tell you, everyone has his own quota. They take money, the people that no, Albert Academy is not more like that.
Okay.
And again for the program, we have Saturday is fun day. We're going to have a friendly football match. The alumni, some of us who are young, are going to play against class of 2000, and also we have reminiscences. It's going to be a rich program, at least for the Academy family.
So would the coronavirus preventive measures be adhered to?
Of course.
Social distancing?
And talking about that,
Masks?
my executive has been very, very supportive of the government. One of the few alumni associations where we collected money from alumni to the tune of over 18 million. Went and made presentation of food items to the Koku Secretariat at Cochrane. Solomon Jambi was so impressed that we were the first alumni association. And also,
But critics would say you should have poured that in the development of the school.
no, at least that too many things to do. That one was urgent, and also when school was to reopen 1st of July, this is some effort
So
of
you
the alumni.
provided free masks for
Free masks,
and
free-
school will open on Monday. So are there free masks for the people?
What I'm saying, we started July 1, when we went to prepare for the Becker and other exams.
So for Monday too.
For Monday, it's continuous. That's what I'm just telling you.
Is it free
We provided 3,000 masks for those people, and it's going to continue
for Monday?
for Monday,
Free of charge.
free of charge.
All right. Okay. Well,
Our alumni are very magnanimous, and they want the school to provide
thank you so
good
much.
quality education for teachers.
Thank you so much. Well, and finally, Kemo, people would want to know, like the messages, like you said, are being prepared by these religious leaders. For most especially, apart from fighting, it's the preventive part that is good. So what does the preventive messages say, and what will people learn from them?
Yeah, so I may not be able to give specific quotations
Yes, no
in any
problem.
since I'm not an authority, but I'll give an example. For example, in one of the preparation sessions, both religious leaders, Muslims and Christians, made example that cited verses in their various books that God requires us, to protect yourself from bad thing. It's a way of obeying God. It's a way of worshiping. You cannot see something bad happening, and if you go there, something bad will happen and do it. Then you will have, whatever faith you prescribe to, you will have violated it. So they use verses to tell people that if you do what you are not supposed to do, something that can harm you, is going against God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, that's how we end the podium for this afternoon. Many thanks to my studio guests for being part of the show. Our quote for today came from George Bernard Shaw, an Irish playwright and political activist, and it says, a life spent making mistakes is more honorable than a life spent doing nothing. My producer has been Samataba. My name is Daphne Zainakama. The Podium returns tomorrow, same time. Stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you.